Climate denial was prevalent before the Paris Agreement and is actually not increasing today. What is increasing today is not climate denial as in a denial of the science, because the science is fundamentally understood. What is increasing today is climate inactivity, climate irresponsibility, because as we begin to see the impact of extreme weather events and the fact that science is now being proven to be correct, we're actually entering into a stage of what I'm calling pre-traumatic syndrome. We have millions of young people who understand the science, far away from climate denial, understand the science and are terrified that the projections of science could become true. And they're already beginning today to live in the trauma and the grief. However, science has been abundantly clear that we have two scenarios. We could either not do anything, and then we have a scenario of constant destruction and increasing human misery, or we could actually assume our responsibility and open the portal toward actually not just not experiencing the damage, but rather experiencing a much safer world, a much more just world, a much healthier world, a world in which we collaborate with each other much more than we are doing now. So it is up to us. It is a choice. It is not a question of climate denial. It is a question of climate paralysis. That is where we are now. And the paralysis comes either because some people are so afraid of what is happening that they paralyze themselves, or because people just feel we cannot do anything about it. It's too big for us. It is not my responsibility. I'm just not going to do it. Optimism is not a denial of reality. It is not about closing our eyes either to the science or to the impacts of extreme weather events that are getting deeper and faster every day. Optimism is also not about sitting on the couch and assuming that someone else is going to take care of the problem. That is not what I mean by optimism. Someone else will not take care of the problem. And furthermore, we need to stand up to the challenge of the reality that we face. What I mean by optimism is both facing the reality with strength, with understanding, having really studied the science and being abreast of the impacts that we're suffering every day, and at the same time, having the gritty determination to tap into our own conviction and know that none of us individually, but all of us collectively, have the capacity to change the trajectory that we are currently on. We have done it in the past.
What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Green New Deal. When do we want it? Now.
If you look at the history of human society, we're undeniably in much better conditions than we were now. We have much better conditions for women, for girls' education. We have much better conditions of health. We have much better conditions of peace, believe it or not. We are losing less people because of war, even with the war that we have on right now, than we did in the past. We have brought millions of people out of poverty and out of misery. Human society is on a path toward continual improvement. Of course, with ups and downs, or else we wouldn't be human. But the trajectory is toward improvement. And now, for those of us who are alive today, our challenge, different from the challenge of our parents or our grandparents, is to bring together the science that we have, the technology that we're developing, the finance that we have available to us, and the policies that we know work, bring all of that together to answer the call of climate change. We can do this.
Greta, your first climate strike was a lonely event a little over a year ago, and in the intervening time, you have sparked the interest of millions, literally, of children around the globe, demanding action for climate change. What's your message to world leaders today?
My message is that we'll be watching you. This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
There are millions of young people, but not just young people, who are in deep pain, in desperation, in grief, and many of whom have fallen into depression. I understand that. And I understand it not in my head, but in my heart. I understand that not only in my head, I understand it in my heart. And that's where it's most painful. The question, however, is, what are we going to do about that? What are we going to do? Because if my reaction or your reaction is the pain is paralyzing, and I'm going to crawl into my little black box and pull the blankets over my head and mourn the loss of what we're seeing, of course, we're entitled to that and very justified. But it does not help. It just doesn't help. The only thing that helps is to find the commitment, the determination, the grit, precisely in that pain, to stand up and begin to engage. The only thing that helps with the pain is engagement in some small way, whatever makes sense to you. Whether it's locally planting a tree, speaking to someone else, whatever makes sense. But engagement, even at a small scale, begins to pull us out of that dark box. And as you begin to crawl out of the box without denying the realities that we're seeing, then you begin to feel more agency. And that is what we have to cultivate. We have to cultivate our own agency. Right now, the media would want to rob us of our agency. We must cultivate our own agency for good. We must remember every single day that we do have the capacity. Touch that inside ourselves. Find that stamina, find that strength, and move forward. Because that is the only thing that is actually going to help us, and especially the only thing that is going to help those who come after us.